purposes.
Well, there's the disclaimer in front of the Hangouts. This can be recorded, and Andrew sure shit is recording it. Oh, and it's live. My bad.
Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and God damn it.
A little bonus content for you.
Yeah. Once more, with gusto. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 117 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, January 29th, 2018.
Hi, I'm Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, CCFR field officer, and host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
My name is Andrew. I'm your host. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive firearms shooter, a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. And I've noticed that certain other unnamed podcasts are now using our live format, and I want to thank them for their endorsement of the style that we developed, that we've been using since episode 1.
Everybody knows we make the best videos.
Dude, stop fucking up the intro.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Children.
Marty Hunter and Sport Shooter in rural Southern Ontario.
Good job.
Hey, I'm Sean, back again after a short hiatus. I'm an ag enthusiast, hunter, firearm owner, and Saskatchewan director of the CCFR. And thank you, Gavin, for your recent volunteering as a CCFR field officer. It's greatly appreciated.
You know, anything for the cause.
Hell yeah.
We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback, or you can email us feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. There are versions of the show on Stitcher and iTunes, and someday, if I can figure out how, I promise I will make the Spotify feed work.
All right, and you can check out the podcast at Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Hey, these guys need your help. They're poor, and Andrew's having a kid. Gavin just had to pay for his trip to SHOT Show. So go to the Patreon. Visit patreon.com/CBP. Become a Patreon. You get an uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 an episode. That's like, what is that, Gavin? Less than a cup of coffee down in Vegas, or what?
Definitely a lot less than a cup of coffee. Less than a cup of coffee up here, even at Tim Hortons with these new, wage hikes.
Well, I mean, especially in Ontario with all those communists, how do you support the show when you can barely afford a coffee?
It's true,
right?
but
hey, show for these listeners, they can show that they're not a communist by buying a CPP T-shirt for $19.99 plus shipping and mandatory government theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com and click on the right.
All right, before we do, what are we drinking? What are we drinking is brought to us each week by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. With that, Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Crown Royal and Coke Zero this evening.
Marty, what are you drinking?
Water tonight.
Got a little hungover this morning?
Lame.
Yeah, taking a little easier tonight. It was a bit of a rough day at work today.
That'll happen. That will happen.
We have very different ideas about how to handle a rough day at work. Sean, what are you drinking?
Guys, I'm a quitter. I quit drinking. So I'm slumming it with the 306 Saskatchewan water, and I got a soda stream for Christmas and been balling it with the cola syrup in that. So
nice.
Pretty decent. It's not keto friendly, but hey, it'll do.
The diet one is.
That'll do. Yeah, but yeah, it's diet.
I'm drinking Bushmills Black Bush Night because it's my birthday and I want to celebrate.
And he'll cry if he wants to.
Yeah.
It's true. No one puts baby. Oh God, yeah, the news this week is terrible.
But we get a SHOT Show recap.
Yeah, let's. One thing to do before we do the SHOT Show recap. We want to plug Colin's event, Canadian Veterans Left in the Cold. The protest is still scheduled for February 15th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Colin has advised everyone that the people that let you book protests apparently have decided now, 2 months after they approved his protest, 2 weeks before it's set to occur, that they would like to change the date, and he's fighting that. And if you tune out tonight at 10 o'clock, I wouldn't blame you, because he's going to be doing a live Facebook video with an update for where the protest is at.
Well, hopefully they don't cancel it, because I've already scheduled to be there, so...
Oh, well, just tell them there's an internet celebrity.
What?
If there's a division of our government that is slightly incompetent.
Yeah.
Wait, so
I'm suggesting that our government in its entirety is incompetent.
Although, I mean, it seems pretty brilliant the way that they're doing this, because, like, he had to file for a separate permit for the protest and then one for the use of space. So they're getting rid of his permit for the use of the space, but not his protest permit. And by pushing that date back, it invalidates his protest permit. So he's going to have to apply for that all over again and keep, like, going back and forth, which is absolute bullshit. So it seems that somebody that is quite competent is actually doing this, or they're just that stupid and it's working out for them. But hopefully the date sticks, because I will be there. I will live stream from that, and support those that matter.
Odd question. The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
That's a good one.
That, and I think I see a Benny on here.
You guys can't.
Oh, do we have Benny?
I can.
Benny.
You're very quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay, how about now? Is that
Much
better?
better.
Much better.
Okay, yeah.
Much better, yeah.
The placement of my
Right,
mic
Ben.
really makes a difference.
No worries. Benny's a little late to the show. You might recognize Benny from such podcasts as New Shooter Canada. And do you do any other podcasts, Benny?
Nope, that's it. Just New Shooter. Yeah, I'm not that famous like some other podcasters out there.
Now that you've been on this show, you'll become that much more famous, or infamous, if you will.
Infamous. You're on the list. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think I got on that list a long time ago.
Well, certainly after traveling to Vegas.
Interestingly enough, I was not stopped at security, so I guess that's a plus on that.
I was.
You obviously weren't. You weren't trying hard enough, Benny.
But I got stopped at every security check for them to look in my bag. But it was the first time. It was a ramen noodle soup, and then the second time was
The ramen will get you every time.
Yeah, or a big bulk thing of business cards.
But my Ninja wallet was fine, but my M&Ms was wrong.
Oh, that's terrible. Sean, I'm muting you until you talk because
Oh, sorry.
too late. Already muted.
Yeah, no, I got stopped by security. I had some empty brass in my bag that they freaked out about. And
Okay, well, why don't we go back and start this from the beginning? So, Gavin and Benny recently went to SHOT Show. SHOT Show took place last week in Las Vegas, Nevada.
yes.
So, SHOT Show is the largest trade show for shooting, hunting, and outdoor stuff. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's still IWI in Germany or IWA.
I've been telling everyone it's the largest in North America because I wasn't sure if it was the largest in the world or not. But I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I don't know. IWA has been getting really big, but you guys went to Vegas. You went.
Yeah,
SHOT
it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, but for my point of reference is the Toronto Sportsman Show. So like 10 booths and you're done. Whereas SHOT Show.
And nine of those 10 are fishing.
Yeah, and then, like SHOT Show, you're walking and walking and walking, and it's never ending.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I think in terms of visitors and attendance, the NRA annual meetings are bigger in terms of square footage, SHOT Show's bigger. I'm not too sure about that. My research department's down for the day, so
That's
So
fair.
the Great American
the
Outdoor
NRA
Show?
show, yeah, the Great American Outdoor Show, which is open to the public,
That's
where SHOT Show is an
probably not
industry-only event.
correct.
Yeah.
So
And some people take
somehow
that
we
very
convinced-
seriously.
Somehow we convinced SHOT Show that you two are both members of the industry. I'm still waiting on them to get banned, but that's okay.
Well, we didn't this year, so that's
Yeah.
Woohoo!
yeah.
How
We gotta
did,
try
how did you
harder.
guys get to go? And Rod Giltaka got banned. What is that?
We're firearms instructors. We're part of the industry,
And we showed them our beard. We showed them our beards.
and we didn't try and get in other people who explicitly are not allowed into the show.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think
Allegedly.
Shots fired!
Allegedly.
Wow,
that was
All
the
right.
only faux pas. Hey, I'm a CCFR member, and I thought that was a great plan. I knew it was doomed to fail. Someone would not be happy with that, whether it be SHOT Show or someone else. I think it was doomed to
Well,
fail.
yeah, we'll touch on that at a later date, but yeah, that's definitely cool. You guys got to go.
Hey, I
That's
make
good.
business
Yeah.
contracts. I don't know. Yeah, I spent 3 days working hard, not just oogling at cool things.
It's true. He did. At least I can only vouch for one of those days, because for the other 2 days I wasn't there. But Benny was hitting the show hard, like 9 to 5,
Yeah.
like a trooper. But like it's his
Okay.
first time. So
So yeah, Benny, this was your first SHOT Show, and Gavin, what's this? Your 8th, 10th,
third. Yeah. Like I wouldn't call myself a veteran of the show yet, but like I'm no rookie.
Yeah.
And did either of you get the SHOT Show AIDS, the SHOT Show crud, if you will, the sickness that afflicts everyone on social media the week after SHOT Show?
No.
No, like I mean, I felt a little tickle in my throat, but like otherwise, I feel fine. And I think the whiskey yesterday and today is certainly keeping that at bay. So I think I'm good.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
disappointed. Clearly, you didn't party hard enough.
I was advised by many to one to hit the vitamin C hard. I have yet to do so, but I think I'm okay.
Yeah, Brent from Many to One, the charity we sponsored earlier, it seems that he got hit pretty hard with the show AIDS.
Oh,
And,
really?
I believe he referenced
Those show aids will
something
get you.
coming out of his back end like a fire hose. So,
Ouch.
Oh no!
um, but everybody survived with relatively little incident. There may or may not
Yeah.
have been an ND that happened,
Excellent.
but a pocket knife saved them. But these things happen.
Yep.
All right, I want to hear show highlights. What was good this year? What was bad this year? What was unexpected this year?
The Masada did not make it to the IWI Masada did not make it to show. I was hoping to hold it and check it out. But that didn't.
That's the new shotgun.
No,
right?
that's the IWI striker fired handgun.
Was
Oh,
he
it's
was,
right, hang on, okay.
wasn't the Masada the original Magpul ACR?
It was. It was. It also happens to be a fortress in ancient Israel
And they held
that
out forever.
that held out. Yeah. But so that like whatever, it makes sense that the IWI is going to pull something from there for their lineup, and yeah, but it for whatever reason they didn't bring it to the show. I only had really one question about that, which was proprietary mags or not, and it is, so that sucks. Yeah, I did a big highlight, I guess, was discovering that actually 2 companies are coming out with a mag insert for a AR-15 to allow you to use Glock mags, to turn your AR-15 into an AR-9, as they both referenced it. So I thought that was really
Ooh.
cool.
Who's doing those?
So one company, which I've misplaced the paperwork, they're like some small shop are doing it, and American Tactical. So the same guys that do the Omni lower, so the polymer lowers for the AR-15, They're actually coming out with 3 models: one for the for SIG, one for Glock, and then one for M&P. So
Cool.
Yep. Yeah,
That sounds sweet.
Yeah, it could be an interesting thing, especially with the SLR coming out from Maccabee. Having a 9 conversion that's easy to do could be interesting, and for anyone that's already got an AR.
yeah. So here's hoping they come out with the CZ version. And I don't know about the other company, but American Tactical theirs does have a last round hold open. So
Nice.
That's
That is
cool.
a key feature.
Yeah, although going back to IWI, we did get to check out their shotgun.
Oh yes.
Their
It
space
is ugly as sin. It is.
How heavy is it?
It wasn't that bad. And the interesting part for me was the mag tubes. He got very angry when we called them magazines.
Yeah. I think because
But-
he's banking on them thinking
But-
of it that way.
Yeah, there are 3 mag tubes that each hold 5 rounds, and they do not automatically flip over to the next tube. So depending on how they word everything and fight it, and how the actual legislation on magazines that rotate is written, there is a potential that maybe it will be allowed in Canada. Unlikely, but fingers crossed that maybe this one will slip through, because you have to manually engage a button and then rotate the magazine to the next one.
Yeah.
So
Well, that'll be interesting.
What's
Yeah.
that one shotgun that kind of does that as well? With the 3 or 4 tubes on it as well? Isn't it kind of like that?
Yes.
The M216 or whatever?
But you
Thinking of the Keltec?
yeah, the
No, it's
Keltec
not a
does
Keltec.
it, the UMass does it. Like, there's a couple that have dual tubes, but there's a selector switch. So the problem is like the X rail that came in. So they made that prohib, and I think they made it prohib by saying anything that rotates is prohib. But depending on what the actual wording of that is, may
Well, when it comes to the RCMP making up laws, I have a drop for that.
Fuck the police.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, we got to check out their new 308 Tavor as well. So, that
That
stuff
one
was
was
kind of
cool.
cool. It's still
wasn't-
like they seem to keep taking the sexy away. Like, like the X95 has some sex appeal to it. The 308 slightly less, and the shotgun, like, it's the redheaded stepchild of the family, but it's functional. It just doesn't look very good, in my opinion.
I think the Tavor 7 does look good. I found its bolt to run a little easier than the Tavor R21. It could have been that model or whatever. It was easy to handle. So I wonder how that's going to feel shooting. And I did like the HK style bolt, like the way that you hold back the bolt and whatever. So bolt stop. So that was cool.
Did you guys look at anything other than the IWI booth, or that was?
No, that was pretty much. We spent 3 days. 3 days at that one booth.
Yeah, pretty much. I went back there every day.
No, we wandered around. We fondled all kinds of stuff. There was all the silencers we can't own, and the AKs, and all the fun stuff that we have to look at, but can't own, sadly, because of stupidness.
Like that then.
Yeah. There was a Sten with a silencer and a red dot on it that was kind of sweet. And then the EOTech booth was kind of neat because they have their new rifle scopes coming out that actually look pretty sweet. I think they'll be up there with comparing with Vortex, but the nice thing about them compared to the Vortex is that the bodies on them are quite short for the magnification and field of view that they give you. So if you have like a short action rifle, they fit nicely on them.
Sorry, so this is a variable power EOTech, like a magnified EOTech?
No, like an actual rifle scope, like a complete departure away from a holographic sight with a magnifier behind it to an actual rifle scope. They're calling them the Voodoo.
The Voodoo. So is it going to compete with like the Trijicon AccuPoint line, or is it going to compete with like the Vortex Crossfire line?
I would say more.
What's the price point?
I would say they'd be more up in and around the Viper range. Like they
really
they're not cheap, but you know they seem very well made, and the magnification and the features and everything go right in line with that, just in a shorter package.
Yeah, so, I'm kind of in the same line as Sean on this. This sounds like a competitor to the Aimpoint AccuPoint line.
Yeah.
So if it's AccuPoint features for Vortex prices, I can get with that.
Well, I'm looking at it right now on Amazon, and they're showing obviously the retail at $22.67 Canadian, but
yeah,
they look intriguing. Like they're 1:6 by 24 from what I see. Looks cool. I don't know, man.
Yeah, like I mean, on my MVP, something like that, I think would look really sweet, because the Vortex I have on it right now, while amazing and I love it, is a little long for a rifle with a short barrel like that.
Lockhart Tactical also has them for $18.67. So they're like a high-end AccuPoint or a Viper, like you said.
Yeah, they'd be in line with that Viper, which is usually around 16-ish. So those are pretty neat to check out. I still need,
not to sound like an Israeli fanboy, but the Phobos, I did go to the Phobos booth the third day, I think, and they had. I noticed that none of them. I asked them about this, and none of their holsters, none of the Phobos holsters actually have the Serpa issue, where you need to use your trigger finger to release them. So I saw a couple different designs that they have available. One where you actually have to shove your gun down to deactivate it, and then you can unholster your firearm. That was interesting, too, I guess.
Did you guys get a chance to look at the new lanyard version of the Glock 19?
You mean the mullet?
No, I didn't make it to the Glock booth. I was too busy running to other booths and stuff. So
we did manage to talk to a few people about it, though, and it seems like this is the gun that nobody wants. Yeah.
Except for the U.S. military, who's apparently buying a boatload of them.
Yeah.
But my Glock.
Yeah.
Everyone the military didn't buy this. I thought this was the one that they didn't choose.
Yeah, this isn't the one they didn't choose. And then they fought to have SIG questioned why SIGs was chosen, but honestly, it makes sense, because I'm pretty sure this is the exact opposite of what everyone wants to carry in the U.S. So
yeah, it's actually one of the things. Like, especially I'm thinking like years past, like last year the Hudson H9, like when that came out, I didn't understand it at all. It seemed like a ridiculous gun, but everybody seemed to love it, and I'm like, I just don't get what people want. That's when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this looks dumb.
America.
I'm like, this looks dumb, but I guess everybody's gonna love this too. But luckily, this one nobody seems to like it either.
It seems like this year there wasn't really anything that was like, the Hudson of this year. Like, that thing was all over the place last year. Like, everyone was talking about it. It didn't seem like there was really anything this year that was setting, the world on fire.
They had the hype that had.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the new Glock came out, and the Glock fanboys are always going to fanboy, but, everyone else was calling it the mullet. So
I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does, like, I think somebody said it's kind of the opposite of what you'd want.
Yeah.
All right. Any other highlights from the show this year?
I mean, the parties were good, as usual. The Canadian party was on point this year. They upgraded the venue from some weird conference room in the middle of the casino with no windows to the observation deck of the Stratosphere.
Nice.
So that was nice. And open bar. Unfortunately,
I don't know that you should be publicizing that.
Unfortunately, no delicious blue cheese like last year. And the food was gone in like half an hour, but the bar remained open, the entire time, and
They had some
libations were had by all.
Yeah. They had some nice soda.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the alcohol was kosher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Although I can say that Benny did imbibe a little alcohol from time to time when the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, the show had some nice beer on tap, but yeah, the parties afterwards not so much.
Was that the Guncrafter ale stuff that they were doing, or was there more than one beer manufacturer there?
We didn't see that. It's just some of the booths were just giving out free beer to get people into the booths.
The year that I don't go to SHOT Show, there's free beer at the booth, and there's no me.
There was also free Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm going for the beer.
Yeah. I don't know what other
The
cool
only other
stuff
guy I wanted to ask you guys about was the Remington 870 DM. Remington's supposed to be making a detachable magazine version of the 870. You guys have a chance to play with that at the Big Green booth?
No.
I walked past it several times and I was like, should I, shouldn't I? And then I kept going.
But like everyone's joked about, it's good to see that Remington is making a clone of the clones that everyone else has made of their own product.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that was the sentiment, but okay.
I've talked to people that have
Mossberg came out with one too, right?
Yeah, Mossberg had one as well. So it looks like that's, mag-fed shotguns are the wave of the future. So maybe the price on my SAP 6 is going to go up and I can sell it.
I mean, it begs the question of what are the Turkish shotgun manufacturers going to do now? Like, what's their...
Nothing. They're just going to, instead of putting, stamping Uzkan on side, they're going to stamp...
Who's going to be innovator who's the innovator in the industry now? We did go by and see some Turkish shotguns here and there. There were quite a few. But
I didn't tell you this, Gavin, but I went to like 2 separate booths and they were not the same company. And it was like I could have almost sworn the same guy was sitting behind the counter. Like,
probably they probably have like 6 different companies.
That's just racing.
One parent company that have the same people working at them. Like, yeah, it would not surprise me if like Canuck and whatever Duria and Uzkan and all the others are all the same company.
I think.
Turkey.
Yeah, I don't think they're the same company. I think they're like Norinco, where it's like there's the Norinco Polytech brand, and then they get various factories to make their stuff, right? So
who also manufacture for anyone willing to give them money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and Turkey, I venture to say, isn't too far apart, but that's why you see like Uzkan and then Hatsan and then Daria, and they're different. Yeah,
like the Typhoon, is that one of them as well?
It doesn't sound nearly Asian enough.
The F12. That's like a Fostech or something.
Yeah, the Typhoon is basically a Duria, but it comes out in like even weirder colors with like electric paint jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, it looked basically exactly the same.
Yeah, it does look a little cooler though.
Yeah.
All right. Any other SHOT Show things before we move into the news?
No, I think, we could talk all about the parties, but nobody wants to hear that. So,
dude, are we gonna talk about the chainsaw bayonets? That's the real thing now.
Yeah, that is true. I got to hold one. It is a thing. So, USA Today, thank you for making that happen.
Now,
or at least making it popular enough to be at the show where people will actually buy it and not just something, it's a one-off that some guy made.
So the one that you held, was that the battery on the buttstock, or was that the battery attached directly to the chainsaw?
It was attached directly to the chainsaw. Like, it's a small little compact contained unit.
How heavy is it on the foregrip? Like, is it?
It wasn't that bad. I mean, like, if you're going to put a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher on the front, I'd say it's comparable. I mean, the nice thing about the weight on it is that, like, if you were to using it to cut something, you could just rest it on it, and the weight of the gun will just help you push down and cut. So it's not like you have to force it through something.
Because that's what I look for in my firearms, is their cutting ability.
Well, when the zombie apocalypse comes,
That's more that, or you can defend yourself while you're cutting up firewood.
Yeah.
The sound of the chainsaw is going to attract the zombie, so...
Dude, you slap that bad boy on an SLR, and that is your Canadian wilderness gun.
Yeah, I was going to say, for some of us who can't get our CCW for wilderness carry, this is an option.
Like, bring that up to the hunt camp with your hex mag. You're good to go, man.
Hopefully you don't cross any borders when you're carrying that, though.
Well, yeah, you don't want to do that.
We did talk to a couple of manufacturers about getting magazines in, but we're all waiting to hear what happens with the hex mag on that.
Yeah, and I see one of the other things you have up here is the HSGI polymer mags. We did take a look at those. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them.
But they're supposed to be lighter and better, and I was assured in the marketing material that I should order a lot of them.
They are really light. I will say that. And they do stay open, so they will be easy to insert magazines in and out of, but they don't come in multicam. They come in just one plain color.
We're not ordering those. No, it's got to be multicam or nothing.
They are going to have some limited edition colors coming out in multicam Alpine. So get ready, folks.
Gavin's got to get his winner on.
That is the one thing that I do concede them being advantages, is to the reinsertion of mags. That is the one thing that's kind of annoying on the top of this right now.
Yeah, that's the problem I found with if you went with the lightweight versions of the fabric ones, the side pieces were super flimsy and they would buckle in. They still work great for pulling your mags out, but they were just that little bit more difficult for inserting a mag. Whereas these polymer ones, they stay wide open the entire time. So, I guess that's pretty much it, other than the really, really awkward invite I had to go back to a certain parts manufacturer's hotel room with the promise of free alcohol.
That was funny.
But, luckily I declined that offer quite rapidly and avoided any unwanted shenanigans.
Yeah, thinking back, roofies would probably be high up on your, watch list.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit some news. We got two articles from the CBC. First one, Canada Post to end community mailbox conversion as part of Liberal reforms. So I'm glad that we've spent all this money to convince Canadians that we want neighborhood mailboxes and all of this money installing them and putting them on people's lawns, only to have the government say they're going to stop doing it. True.
Well, I think from what I understand, any of the ones that are already converted to community mailboxes are going to stay as community mailboxes. They're just going to stop converting further.
But Marty, those are jobs that letter carriers are losing. You could hire more letter carriers by not having those community mailboxes that we have now. Isn't that the whole point?
So then what you're saying is that they fully understand that it's more cost effective to have community mailboxes then?
Yeah, this whole thing is upsetting for me. We should have none of this, and it should not be handled by the government.
Yeah,
That's really what the
Post is
situation
terrible.
here is.
What I'm curious about here is, and
Privatize
I didn't
all the
see in the
things.
article, is like how much of the conversion is left? Like, did they
God,
convert
there's no way to-
95% over?
There's no way
You know,
to
did
know
they
that.
convert 95%
Probably
over,
even
and then the Liberals were able to reverse just to as a PR move without actually really doing anything?
Absolutely. I bet they don't even have stats on how many of these things got installed.
Probably not many, because then they could reverse it, and then like the next election they can go forward with it again, and then reverse it, and then go forward with it again, and reverse it, and somehow like shuffle money into their pockets every time they do this, without actually ever doing anything.
Does anyone remember who actually started this? Because the article blames the conservatives. I just don't remember if that's true or not.
Yes, the conservatives wanted to end delivery in favor of community mailboxes, which were poorly organized and implemented and caused a whole bunch of other problems that could have easily been foreseen had somebody bothered to do a little bit of thinking.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I live in the city, so I'm not really subject to this so much. Like my
No,
parents,
you are subject to this.
or I'm saying
So
like I
this
was.
is
They didn't actually implement
this-
it for me, so I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with the problem.
So this was
firsthand.
specifically, this was specifically only targeting city. So this anybody in rural community, this was unaffected by this.
I see.
Yeah, because you guys
All right, let's do the
already
next
get
one.
shitty mail delivery out there.
Yeah.
No, if you live out of town, you just don't get mail. That's right. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. Or you get charged as a beyond point.
Let's do the next one. The RCMP has been told that they must pay $550,000 as a penalty for labor code conviction in last year's Moncton Mountie shooting. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not last year. This is 2014.
Yes.
I have no idea where I got that from. This is from 2014. So, first thoughts before I start making rants.
I just want to make sure the money that they're paying that goes to who exactly?
Well, we'll get to that. That's
So in which case the government's paying the government, and the people who are hurt still are hurt, and nothing's changed. Right. Okay.
Pretty much.
that's basically the
Well-
summary. Yeah. So they've
So it's not even. It doesn't even directly to the government. It goes to like liberal slush fund type stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the fine was to the tune of $100,000, and then the RCMP has been ordered that they must pay a further $450,000 in donations. And the way that divides up, we're not. So the fine is the RCMP, a government agency, paying a different government agency the fine, which is all your tax dollars that were collected from you in the first place. So the first $100,000 is just the government moving your tax dollars around between different agencies. Because government.
Well, that's how they funnel it from one to the other that they can't fund.
Right. So that's the first bit. The other $450,000 in donations. $300K goes to scholarships to the University of Moncton for in the names of the fallen Mounties, which is apparently demonstrating dedication to the community.
I'm
Really?
sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how scholarships at the local university helps the community or the horse police. $60,000 for educational trust funds for the children of the Mounties who were killed.
Okay,
that
that
makes
one.
some sense,
Yeah.
right? Like the Mounties were not given the tools, equipment, and training that they needed in order to effectively do their job, i.e., not get shot. So, providing a trust fund for their children. I'm surprised that the RCMP doesn't already have some sort of an insurance policy that if you get shot while you're being a horse policeman, that your family will get looked after. I find that shocking, but the $60,000 seems like at least that's going to a good cause. It's going to the children of the Mounties who were killed.
It could be just they're subsidizing that their existing program they have in place. If it's anything,
Yeah, it may well
what I hear about, our veterans, it's probably not much. So,
and then we have $75,000 to go to Threads of Life, Association for Workplace Tragedy Family Support, and a Canadian registered charity. That sounds like a scam. And $15,000 to Valor Place Society, a temporary home away from home for all Canadian Forces members, RCMP, families of fallen veterans, and first responders. So, yeah, not sure why $90,000 is going to these other community projects. This doesn't seem like the way that they should be generating income.
No. I don't I don't see the $550,000 taking out of the RCMP's budget is really a penalty to anyone up there. We're going to punish you by taking away someone else's money.
Why don't we use that $550,000 to buy rifles for the RCMP?
Well, that's what they should have done in the first place, is just issued them rifles and provided them with adequate training so that when you have an armed standoff, you can just shoot somebody. I mean, certain people need to be shot, and this is these are the people who are employed to do it. So
let me understand this. We had officers who were killed because the RCMP did not have enough money in their budget to outfit them correctly. And so to solve this problem, we have removed money from the RCMP.
Yes, but we've given it to community outreach programs and started scholarship funds. So basically, it's going to help prevent this sort of thing from happening in the future somehow.
Makes perfect sense.
You know what? There's
liberal logic.
An aide who walked into the judge's chambers afterwards. He's like, we should have just made them spend this money on training and rifles. And the judge was like, that would have been a good idea. Oh well. Yeah,
I don't even think this was a real judge. I think this came down from a labor board tribunal, didn't it?
Oh, well.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, who lost their job over this?
Well, nobody. We probably made more jobs to make more tax dollars and stuff to pay for this.
Well, someone's got to manage.
I mean, somebody made a decision that cost the lives of multiple RCMP officers. So, what's that person's name, and how are they held accountable?
Well, I'm pretty sure that the guy that actually caused them to lose their lives got shot too, because he was the douchebag that started the whole thing. But the cops and the RCMP need better training. They need the proper training to deal with the situations that may or may not arise. We've bitched about it before, where Niagara got their patrol carbines and they got 1,000 rounds in 3 days of training, and then they're qualified to go out and save the world from the bad guys. And it's that's nothing.
But here's what I'm looking at this going is okay, so if the RCMP is having to pay a penalty, then that means that the result of this investigation shows that the RCMP essentially, yes, that there was internally in the RCMP there was a level of incompetence, and they were not provided the training and the firearms that they should have been. So that they're saying that there was a decision made at the RCMP that resulted in in these guys going out to this call without the equipment and training that they required. Who made that decision? What is that person's name? What is the consequences for that person?
Yeah.
Likely nothing. If I had to hazard a guess, it would be nothing. Because the people that are making those decisions don't suffer the consequences when frontline officers don't have the training or equipment that they need to do their jobs.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've stayed silent this whole time because I'm just frothing at the mouth. This is so.
Yeah. Well, it just seems ridiculous. Now, we're affecting a punishment on people that aren't the decision makers. You know what I mean? So now other people are paying the fines for someone's incompetence or some group of people's incompetence.
Yeah.
I
So now the RCMP budget is $550,000 missing, but I bet you the salaries of the people that made the decisions that caused this, they probably got a raise this year.
Isn't that how it always is, though, that somebody else is always paying for the incompetence of government?
But I think because these labor laws, I would guess, are designed for the public sector. In which case, in a public sector environment, I would hope that there'd be recourse for whatever for what happened. But here, where the right hand is paying the left for a mistake that the right made, doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really fix the problem.
Yeah, this is enraging. I don't have anything else good to say about this. Let's move on to the next thing. Hashtag #MeToo comes to Ontario. I'm sure many of our listeners will have heard by now that Patrick Brown has stepped down from his role as leader of the Ontario after, what are we calling this? Anonymous allegation? I guess they're not anonymous. We know who at least one of the women is. After allegations of sexual misconduct on his part, about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
This seems to be very conveniently timed. Run up to a provincial election, and all of a sudden we have allegations of sexual impropriety from a decade ago. It sounds very U.S. politics to me, but
yeah, I mean, it's you've had 10 years, and now right before an election, at like that sort of crucial time, this comes out.
I think from listening in the past, I feel like the panel has always been of the opinion he's not the right leader for the Conservative Party.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
I'm not going that way. I'm saying when I heard this, I was like, oh great, maybe they can get someone better in. But you guys seem to be thinking they're gonna the Liberals are gonna try and use this against them. So.
Oh, for sure. And like one of the candidates I've seen that they're going to try and replace him with is Doug Ford, who I don't think is any better. And if anything, I think is much worse.
Yeah.
So I would say that, we can make the comment of how it's suspiciously convenient this close to the election, but it could be equally convenient from either side. This very easily could have also been people within the Conservative Party that recognized that he was not the leader to get the election they needed, and are using this to get him out so they can get a new Conservative leader in time for the new election.
Yeah,
it could just as easily have been.
There's lots of strange things happening with this, though. Like the timing of this is very strange. Like the fact that there seems to be a lot of people in the top positions and everything of the party that have all jumped ship all at the same time, too.
Yeah, so it seems like originally he had, when the first words of this came out, it sounded like he was planning to not step down and he was going to fight this. And immediately when they found out that he was not going to step down, it sounds like he lost, or there was resignation from several senior members of his staff. And so
like basically the entire campaign staff.
Yeah, so he was basically forced to step down within a few hours of this because everybody jumped ship on him. So he had no way to no recourse, and so he had to step down.
Yeah, and I saw also like the president of the Conservative Party for Ontario stepped today or yesterday.
So first, let's talk about what this is, because these are allegations. There is no, this guy has not been found guilty. He has not been charged or anything like that. There has been allegations of impropriety against him, and he's done.
In today's social media world, though, that is.
Yeah, exactly. Like he has no assumption of innocence. He has no ability to defend his position. The fact that somebody came forward and just said, "Yep, 10 years ago he did something," he's immediately demonized in our society, and his career is ruined.
Yeah, that's the problem with the media, though, right? Like it everyone, like, if these allegations are true, then he absolutely needs to be brought to justice, and I think that's disgusting.
Yeah.
We society where everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So I mean, anytime anyone comes forth with allegations like this, they need to go to the police or some sort of authority like that, and they shouldn't be made public until there's some fact checking done to this. Because yeah, if this whole thing just falls apart, he's out of a career. Like we said, we don't like the guy,
and that's what
like, he doesn't deserve to be thrown out over simply allegations.
Yeah, and that's what I find scary, is that this is such an easy attack that can be made on, any political opponent that you disagree with. You just convince someone to say that that there was sexual misconduct. Whether or not it happened or not, it'll be too late by the time anything gets figured out.
Especially if you time it right
before step down. Right. It'll take it'll take at least a year before he'd have any chance of trying to clear his name, and then in that time the election's passed. This is a very scary precedent this sets.
Yeah, I mean, even if he clears his name and somehow manages to carry on, and come next election, it'll be, oh, here's Patrick Brown. Remember that sexual harassment scandal? So they'll allude to it without going on about the fact that he was found 100% innocent. It'll just be, oh, he was embroiled in that scandal. So it sounds like he's done something bad, even if it's been proven that he hasn't, because he got wrapped up in this thing to no fault of his own.
Yeah, I mean, look at John. I don't know how to pronounce it. John Gamechi or whatever.
Yeah, that's a prime example.
So, it came out basically that the women were lying all over the place, and it entirely got thrown out. And he is still, when you see him being reported on, and there was even some of the MPs saying oh, these women aren't going to get a fair trial, using John Gameshi as an example. And it's like, well, no, that was proven it was proven that the women were lying, and they're still using him as an example of the evil, sexual assaulters in our society.
Well, and that's the worst part when something like that happens, because, I mean, if the guy did it and people are lying and the whole thing gets thrown out, justice isn't done. So now you've got a guilty person that's walking around innocent.
Yeah.
And you have to treat them as that. Even if you know they're guilty, you have to treat them as innocent because it got thrown out in the courts. So that, if you discriminate against them because of something that didn't happen, using air quotes, you get in trouble. Or the other way around, where somebody that's totally innocent has this stuff said about them, it ruins their career. There's no recovering from that. He will never work in politics again in any sort of level, whether he did it or not. He's ruined.
No, that's the part that is incredibly unfair about this, is because someone has made these allegations, and anyone can make these allegations, but now there's the social stigma that it'll be carried around with it for the rest of his career.
Well, and there's some funny stuff coming out too about, because I guess there's two women that have stepped forward, one publicly, one anonymous, and the one that's come out publicly, apparently she had some sort of sexual relationship with the person that was interviewing her about this. I was seeing somewhere, so that's a huge conflict of interest.
I can see it going both ways, though. I can see if something that this is really an emotionally charged situation. I can feel you wanting to be interviewed by someone you're familiar with or you're comfortable with. But again, you're right. It does. It isn't a to find yourself in.
Yeah, that's a huge conflict of interest. Somebody that you had an intimate relationship with interviewing about this whole thing, that seems really weird. I mean, there's.
Do we want to talk quickly about what the allegations are?
That's probably a good idea.
Because both these allegations sound more like a regretted decision than sexual assault. So the first one, it was, now she says she was 16 at the time. She was drinking in a bar, and that's where she met him. Like they met at a bar. He introduced himself or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Now, can I interject? Because I'm not exactly sure how long ago this took place exactly, but my understanding is it's not legal to be 16 years old and drinking in a bar in Ontario.
No, it's
Correct.
totally okay. Totally fine.
I mean, I don't have a smart serve, but I've been in a couple of bars, and it seems to me that they don't serve you if you're underage.
You're hanging out in the wrong bars.
And if you're a male and you meet a girl who is drinking at the bar that you're at, one would assume they're 19.
Yeah, that exact thing actually happened to a friend of mine.
I think that's a reasonable assumption at that point that they're 19.
No, if it was me, I'd own up. But a friend of mine, we used to hang out at a bar, a big group of us regularly, and he ended up hooking up with this girl that used to frequent the bar as well. A year and a half later, she shows up and celebrates her 19th birthday. And that's when we all found out.
Statutory.
Yeah. And that's when we all found out that like she'd been giving everybody a fake name and everything for a year and a half. And yeah, like my buddy was a little ticked off about that situation. He's like, if she had just like said something like, hey, so by the way, before we do this, I'm not 19 and my real name is this. Are you cool with that? That would have been nice.
Now the legal age for sex in Canada is 16.
Yeah.
As of 2008. So even if you knew she was 16, it's weird and creepy and
gross.
But not illegal. Yeah, gross. But not illegal. And so anyway, so he invites this 16-year-old girl over. She goes over. She goes with him back to his place. And at some point, he apparently pulls down his pants and asks her to perform oral sex on him.
That's got to be an awkward conversation. Yeah. My name is Patrick Brown. Would you like to fellatiate me? Would you perform the oral sex, please? Like, that's got to be...
Given how awkward he is. Yeah, given how awkward he is, I'm sure that's how exactly came out. Yeah. Would you please...
Like, so she says that she doesn't know if he said, suck my d or put this in your mouth, but something along those lines. Put this in your mouth, I can kind of see him saying as well.
Yeah, he's not the best person, but...
So anyways, he asks her, and then she does.
Why would you go... Right, why would you go to this dude's house, and then if he wants you to perform the oral sex, and you decide to do that, at what point did that become a problem? Like, so, and this is his house, and then you put it in your mouth. Like,
he probably didn't give her warning. That's probably what it was.
And that's the end of the complaint. There was nothing else beyond that.
It sounds very consensual, if awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gross. It's the fact that she's 16 years old and he would have been, quite a bit older at the time. It's gross.
He didn't know that. So to him,
we don't know. We don't know if he knew she was 16 or not.
Well, I'm sure if she had said that I told him I was 16, that would have come out with it to make it sound even grosser and creepier, right? So he doesn't know. I agree,
but
in as far as I'm concerned, he didn't know.
In the facts that we have available to us, we can't say for sure that he didn't know. We know that he met her at a bar. I think it's safe to assume
unlikely.
That he likely assumed that she thought that he thought she was 19 because she's drinking at a bar. But whatever. Either way, this does not sound like sexual assault to me. But okay,
no.
That was the first one. Somebody want to go through the second one, or?
Yeah, I guess I will. The second, I can read it straight off the star because it's pretty much, yeah. The second complaint was a university student. When she first met Brown on a plane, she told CTV he gave the woman his phone number and allegedly the name of a Barry bars where he might be later that night, offering to help her skip any lineups. She didn't take him up on the offer, but contacted him months later looking for a summer job. Hired to work in his constituency office. At an after-party following a charity event she organized, he and the others plied her with drinks. She was invited back to his home. Eventually, I don't really know, eventually YG there. They were alone sitting on his bed. The next thing I know, he was kissing me, sitting beside me, kissing me, and then I was kind of just froze up. He continued to kiss me and laid me down on the bed and got on top of me. She told him to stop. He did. He drove her back to her parents' house. Yeah, so the article goes on to ask like, what's going on here. It doesn't seem like this is actually a real problem, which I thought was interesting coming from the Star, but
yeah.
So I read a longer version of her account, and it's apparently they went up to his room to look at photos of a vacation he took on his iPad, because those things aren't very portable. So you have to go to the room where they're in, apparently.
But it gets weirder.
Did he ask her to put it in his mouth? Or something like that?
No, he started kissing her. She told him to stop, and he did. Okay. He pushed her over. And
what happened to their friend? She wasn't there by herself. She was there with some other third person. And all three of them went to his room to look at the iPad, where the other gentleman decided to excuse himself for reasons that are not adequately explained in any of the coverage. Who's that dude, and why is he super creepy?
I'm still hung up with the why it says eventually, comma, YGEE, comma, and then like that doesn't really. I don't know what's going on there.
So
I mean, how dare he stop when she asked him?
Well, like
and
the
then
same
to
thing,
have
like this is one of those things where,
yeah,
and this, like this is no game whatsoever. Like, do you want to come up to my room and look at my iPad? Like this, like if you fall for that one,
yeah, no one really wants to see other people's.
So you'd be
vacation
surprised.
photos. Yeah.
So and again, I'm not speaking from personal experience, but my old roommate used to use the line, would you like to come back to my place and watch some South Park episodes? You'd be surprised how often that line worked.
Right, but at any point, do you think that like any of those women thought they were going back to watch South Park episodes?
No, absolutely not.
So again, same thing. It seems like this was consensual to a point, or at least she's, put herself in this situation. He's makes his awkward move, and she starts having second thoughts, asks him to stop. He does so immediately, as far as we can see in from her complaint. He stops and drives her home. I don't see where the assault is. Like, this seems like it was consensual up until a point when it was not, and as soon as it was not, he stopped and drove her home.
Yeah.
And this guy's career is ruined over these two.
Yeah. Well, his career as a politician.
Yes.
That's
I mean, that's his career in general. Like, who's going to hire this guy, though? Like, unless this guy goes and starts his own company, but then who's going to frequent the company? They're going to find out, oh, it's Patrick Brown, the rapist.
iPad salesman?
Can I show you my charging port?
But like, his iPad gimmick thing wasn't really all that successful. So how good of an iPad salesman is he really?
He could be a Costco food sample person. Just here, put this in your mouth.
Try this. Tell me what you think.
Surprisingly, that may have worked with these women.
Yeah, I
I think adequately covers it. This is sad, and we're making light of it because what else can we do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, we are making light of
this
it.
guy. We've shot on this guy all along. Like, this guy was not a great leader at all. But this is wrong. What's happened to him? Yeah,
I mean, if it all comes out that the guy is a creep, then I hope he gets what's coming to him. But based on everything that we've heard so far, it's sounding like it's all made up, or at the very least made to sound a heck of a lot worse than it is, just to ruin this guy's chance at winning the election.
And right before
what's been especially frustrating. Yeah, what's been especially frustrating is seeing the virtue signaling from the opposition parties. Like, you're having Kathleen Wynne sending out morality statements and things like that, which just this is a woman who adds anal sex to our school curriculum, elementary school curriculum.
No, it was not Kathleen Wynne who added anal sex to the school curriculum. It was Kathleen Wynne's convicted pedophile advisor that did that.
So wait,
we want to be particular about where the anal sex came from.
Does that mean Patrick Brown has to go work for the Liberals now?
Ooh,
no.
He is.
He is
roughly
working for the Liberals. He'd still be employed.
Yeah, and he'd
be making policy. Yeah,
he'd be an actual rapist, not just an accused.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we've hit a new low, guys.
No, we haven't.
If only this podcast was around 10 years ago, then he could have just learned that, all he needed to do was grow a beard.
Yeah. Just throw themselves at you then. They offer you the free booze.
Looks to me like you're in the Taliban.
The only beard-related drop I had handy.
It's not wrong, though. We do.
Let's read a promo. Ragnarok Tactical, do you need some new gear? Couldn't make it to SHOT Show? Getting ready for the snow to melt so you can shoot again? Ragnarok Tactical is going to be doing an order of your favorite brands. 511, high-speed gear, Streamlight, and Blackhawk. Email sales@ragnaroktactical.ca for your quote today. Ragnarok Tactical will beat any in-stock prices. Otherwise, the pricing is US MSRP plus 20%. That's right. You're not paying the full exchange rate. Only 20%. Coupon code Patriot at checkout. And shipping for any amount of products anywhere in Canada is always just $10. Order deadline for this order will be February the 19th.
Plus left.
Damn, son.
Well, yeah, I see Sean's already sent in his request for what he wants, but hey, come on, I got that quote to work out to exactly $308. That's pretty cool. That's a very tactical quote.
That is a tactical.
What are you getting? Anything awesome?
Pair of pants. I've been on a Stargate SG-1 binge, and they use the Blackhawk Omega vest. Well, the Omega Medic vest. And I'm like, I should get one of those because, I don't know, I love Stargate. So
it's a good show.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah. I don't like the fact they use P90s, though, because the ammo would be very impractical. So.
Yeah, but have you ever fired one?
They travel through portals in space.
Like,
the ammo being impractical is the least impractical thing.
See, the portals in space worries me.
If I was gonna get a bullpup, man, that P90 is sexy. I got to fire one in Vegas.
But they used to use MP5s. Why did they just stick with MP5s? 9mm are aplenty.
I would take an MP5 too because they're also sexy. Mostly because you get to slap down that charging handle. That would be satisfying.
The HK slap.
That's the first gun I want them to take off the prohibited list.
Yeah, although if you go to some of the places in the U.S. that have the civilian models with the goofy long barrel, it looks weird.
Yeah. Well, I got to fire something similar, not quite the same, the Fame 9mm, the shorty. Yeah. That was pretty cool. That was at the Radio Shooting Center. Shameless plug for Derek and the boys over there. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Zero kick. I can see why you guys love them. But
yeah, they are
very
fun.
Similar to the MP5. And the hooded it is sweet. I love that.
I'll take pretty much any submachine gun, but if I could only own one, Swedish K.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the CIA's plausible deniability gun.
I don't know. I
They
personally
don't officially own any.
Well, if the SHTF shit hits the fan gun, I would like to have a submachine gun that I can replace with Schedule 40 tube, like a British
Oh,
Sten.
wow.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, well, especially if it's like the one I
shoots
got to
9
see at
mil.
SHOT Show that has a silencer and a red dot on it, and it's like murdered out in flat black. I mean, I would take that in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong, but
Well, and then you can replace it with shit from your kitchen. Like, that's awesome. But,
but
actually,
who's
what
to
got
say
me all
I
worked up,
haven't made one out of stuff for my kitchen already?
exactly. But Larry Vickers recently did a video on his whatever top 5 guns everyone should have, and his outlier, his 6th wild card, was actually the Sten Mark V, which was the paratrooper version with the foregrip and the front sight and everything. It was actually pretty cool. I think that would be sweet to get dropped into Normandy with that bastard. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we kind of went on a tangent there, but anyway.
It's
So
a
start
good
it.
tangent. I'm leaving it in. Also, I don't edit anymore, so this is the show now.
So there's that.
Surprise!
Are we gonna talk about Cantor, or are we gonna leave that?
Skippity doodah, I think. Let's move on to the next thing. We've got rapid fire feedback from Colin.
Let's make one comment on the Kent-Her. The fact that he's still a caucus member.
You said
What?
cock.
He didn't have to like completely give up his political position, despite allegations.
No, he stepped down as multiple allegations. He stepped down as a cabinet minister, but he's still a caucus member.
Caucus.
You said cock.
So just to highlight the point that we mentioned about how if you were a liberal, they'd still be working. Here's case in point right there.
Yeah.
Very true.
What you make you sick, their behavior should.
Yeah. And their choice in socks.
Yes, definitely the socks.
Gavin,
All right,
just
let's,
remember this. He can't,
This
he
rubber
can't
duck.
choose the
Speaking
rest
of
his
colored socks,
outfit.
sorry.
This rubber duck once. That was like a kick in the face. Like,
Yeah.
gonna spend your money on something stupid and then get socks to go along with it. Like,
Well, I think they threw those in.
like
That's part of the rental fee.
every time I think of it, like I could feel the hate welling up inside of me. Like, just makes me so
Just
angry.
wait till next week when he has the ice rink socks on.
Yeah. Thanks, Marty. I really needed that. If I wasn't already pissed off enough. I can't wait till he's out and we get our own socks. Him going for a ride over the Bay of Santiago.
You'll all be sorry.
Yeah.
All right, shall we do rapid fire feedback?
Let's do it.
Excellent. Email from Colin. In the last episode, you guys mentioned every double stack mag would be banned, following the logic of I-run guns. Notice, I disagree. The Metgar mags, at least for the SIG P226 handguns, LAR mags, CZ Shadow mags, and so many others have a body that will not fit more than 10. The body of the mag is designed not to hold more than 10 because it's too short and the extended mag bases come up to meet the body of the mag. Colin is not mistaken. 10-round magazines only hold 10 rounds if they are only so physically long as to be the height at which 10 rounds would fit into. I were talking about, and you'll have to forgive my less than sober state both today and last week, because on Monday nights we drink and we podcast in that order. I think we were talking about magazines that were not exclusively limited to 10 rounds by the way in which they are manufactured. We're talking about like your standard size Glock 17 round magazine, or your standard size AR Stanag pattern magazine, not your 10 round LAR pistol magazine, or your standard size 17 round CZ Shadow magazine, not the 10 round ones that are specifically made for the Canadian market.
But then you also get something like the 10 round Glock 40 mags that hold 11 9mm.
Allegedly.
Right? Like, so.
Allegedly.
You know,
I mean,
it's stupid.
So, Colin, you're not wrong, and neither am I.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, we're making a generalization when we say, pretty well every double stack mag is prohibited by what they're saying. Yes, you'll always be able to find, like some percentage of loophole type stuff in that statement. But yeah, generally this ruling would be, 90%, 95% of double stack mags would be prohibited by that definition.
Yeah.
So, by that definition,
Fuck the police.
because this is a stupid rule.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's not even a rule. Like, where does it even come from?
Every rifle magazine pretty much is screwed then, because they've just been pinned. So the body of them holds usually like 30 rounds. And technically, if you want to go crazy about it, and I hope the RCMP aren't listening because it seems like they do, but like LAR mags are not actually pistol magazines.
Shut up, you'll tell somebody. They'll figure it out.
But yeah, like it's the whole thing is ridiculous. Like not one life has been saved by a reduced capacity magazine.
Well, listeners should remember to spay and neuter their liberals, not their magazines.
I don't know. I think the liberals are just trying to prop up our rivet industry in this country.
Yes. Yes, those permanent rivets.
Yeah, permanent.
Let's wrap this up. Benny, where can everybody find you on the internet?
They can find me at New Shooter Canada or bennylewis.ca, not .com. bennylewis.ca.
Who owns the .com?
Some language guy.
Does anyone own the .biz?
.biz. Nobody owns the .biz.
That's where you can find me. Or Facebook, bennylewis.ca.
Good stuff. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me at Urbix_GTA on the Instagrams, or live and in person on Parliament Hill on the 15th of February, if that date hasn't got changed. I don't know because we're doing this live and not listening to Colin, but I'm hoping it hasn't because I'll be there.
All right, good stuff. Where can everybody find you?
The social medias, or you can visit us at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback, or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
All right. And Sean, where can everybody find you?
Facebook, Twitter. I don't think Google Plus is a thing anymore, but CCFR, firearmrights.ca, or firearmrights.ca. Check us out there. Donate. We're in Regina. I can't remember the dates, but we're going to be at a booth. I'll get it for next week. I don't know the exact dates. I probably should have brought it up unless I had the info. But yeah, support your local CCFR guys, and we're the ones doing the good fight. And we got some big news coming down the pipe here. So stay tuned.
Cool. As always, my name is Andrew. You can find me at ragnaroktactical.ca. Get your pre-order information in. We're working on the class schedule for 2018. It'll be up eventually. Getting range time is hard. It happens.
I usually get hard at range time.
Is there something else I'm supposed to say? Oh, yeah. We couldn't fit Rod Giltack into the show this week because we had Benny. We can only have one internet celebrity at a time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rod. Maybe next week. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.